Hi folks, this is another Aliexpress purchase, and it's a network version of the relays. If you look at my last videos, I had circuit boards with relays that you could control using App Inventor, just doing a smartphone app and switching on and off the relays. This is a network version of the same with relays, but you're just controlling it over the network. And it obviously has a network adapter. You can plug in power here, and you can also plug in power here. And there's your relay switches for on and off. And then if you want to control it using Arduino, you can do that too. The only problem with this was it came in a bag. It came in this bag here with no instructions whatsoever how to use it, how to set it up, how to configure it. No information at all. So with a little bit of digging around and using ChatGPT and Copilot and Google search and everything else, I figured out that this board anyway uses the default IP address of 192.168.1.100 with a port of 6722. So I will set the board up with power and I'll plug it into the network, and I'll show you how I actually worked that out. Because if you get one of these boards and it's not the same IP address, you're going to have the same problems as me. So I'll show you what I did and how I did it. Right, so this is where we are at. I've set up a virtual server using Hyper-V on my machine. You don't need to do this. I just did it because it was convenient to do it everything in the virtual server, but you can do it on your own Windows 10 or Windows 11 PC. So I have the network card plugged in, as you can see, and it has power, and there's an actual green light on, which is a solid green light saying you're connected to the network. But the card comes out of the package without any instructions whatsoever. So I went on to ChatGPT and Copilot to see what they say about this. And they said normally the default IP address for these cards are 192.168.1.100. So to find out if that IP address was right, I had to go over to the command prompt, and I wanted to ping that IP address to make sure that I was actually seeing it on the network. Okay, so the actual address is pinging, so that's definitely on the network, or there is a device on the network of that address. So now I know that IP address, I can see it on the network. The next thing I have to do is to get a program called PuTTY and install it to check what port it's actually on. So if I go over to Google and type in PuTTY, and it brings you to putty.org, and then you just go down and you say looking for PuTTY, it's here, and then you look for the 64-bit installer, which is the one that I would use, and I'd install the program when it's done and open up and install that program. Okay, so that's good. So PuTTY is now installed, and what PuTTY will do is we need to check to see what port that is using, because it's not just about the IP address. You have to look at and find the actual port that it's on. So we load up PuTTY. Now we know the IP address is 192.168.1.100, but they give a range of IP addresses to try. So if we say, for example, try 5000, and make sure you select it to the raw option on PuTTY, and then say open. Right, there's nothing coming up on the screen there at all. But if we type the words, even though you can't see it, if I type in open relay 1, nothing happens at all. Okay, so there's nothing there at all. So I don't think network error timeout. Okay, so that's not actually working. Okay, so we close that down. So we'll just try PuTTY again. Actually, if I add it into my start pin to start up, I'll just be able to load it there. Okay, so I went through a number of ports trying to find out which one it was, and the one that worked for me was port number 6722. So if I type in 192.168.1.100 and I type in port number 6722, again, make sure you select raw and you say open. And again, there's nothing there. If I press enter, right, I'm getting something. There's something showing there. Okay. Now, relays on network cards seem to be controlled by numeric numbers, and there's 2 relays on this card. So I had to go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 just to see what would happen. So I found out that the actual ports for this, I think it was 11 and 12. Okay, so what you do is, if you want to test this, if you want to have the relay to come on for 5 seconds and then switch off again, you type in 11:5 and press enter. And you'll see here the red light is gone on and it should switch off now. So it's gone off again. So that means that the numeric value for that relay, number 1, is 11. So what's the chance of the one beside it being number 12? Well, let's find out. So type in 12:5, and that comes on for 5 seconds and then turns off. Okay, so we now know how to switch the actual relays on, but how do we switch them off? Well, if we know that if we type 11, that switches it on, then what number will switch it off? Well, it turns out the number to switch that off is 21. So if we type in 21 and press enter, it switches it off. And if with the relay number 12 switches it on, and 22 switches it off. So that's really all we need at the moment to, now we've worked out the actual IP address and the actual port number. So it's 192.168.100 and port number 6722. Now, the issue that we have is that you need to have a server, because this is networking and it's a network connector. You need to have a server running to actually control it from a web browser. That means that to do that, you need to go and download node.js, node.js.org, node.js.org. You need to download that and install that on your system, because it uses Node.js and it uses Python as well. So you probably need to install Python as well. So if you go down here and you download the latest LTS version and do a download, I have it installed already, so I don't need to do that. Okay, so basically when you have Node installed, again, if we go to command prompt, we'll just check that we have everything installed. So if we type node-v, right, oh, come up there, didn't like that, node-v. Okay, so node-v tells us that that's the version that we have installed. So if we type pyth python, HON-V. Right, so we have Python installed as well. Okay, so because we have them two installed, then that means that we are able now to actually put a program together. Now, I'm not a programmer, so basically I didn't program the actual code to get this working. What I did was I went to ChatGPT and I asked ChatGPT to give me two files to run the actual so I can run this in a browser. So I set up a directory on my virtual server called relay dash server, I think it's called. Yeah. Oh. So the two files that ChatGPT gave me was server.js and index.html. Basically, I told ChatGPT the IP address, the port number, the relay number to switch it on, which is 1112, and the relay numbers to switch it off, 21 and 22, and asked them to give me a HTML file that I can run in the browser to switch the relays on and off. So, and that's what I did. Now, before we actually load the file up in the browser, what you have to do is you have to run the actual server, the Node JS server. So basically what you do is you make sure that you're in the directory, where the server.js file is. You have to make sure you're there. So you type in node and you type in server.js and it says relay HTTP server running on port 3000. That's great. Okay. So then if you go into the same directory and then run the HTML file, open it up in Google Chrome. And if you watch the display on the camera there, when I click on, off, on, off. So that's how I got it working in Windows. Using a bit of ChatGPT, a bit of investigation as to what port. Unfortunately, they don't give the instructions for this board, so it can be difficult if you're not anyway technical to get it working. So this is why I'm doing this video, to show people how you can do it and what to do, and you give it a go. The IP address might not be 192.168.1.100. It might be something else. Obviously, if this is designed to use DHCP, it might take an IP address from your setup, and your IP networking range might be different to mine. But the port was 6722. Okay, so on, off, on, off. And so just make sure that you've Node.js installed, Python installed, and then obviously make sure you have PuTTY installed. And then you have to run the server up, and that's how you get it working. Now, can you actually access this from outside your network? Yes, you can do that. You could probably go through a DMZ or maybe a VPN or something like that. I haven't got that far. I just wanted to get it working. But that is basically how you get these network cards working when you've no instructions in the bag to tell you what to do. I hope this was helpful, and if you like this, please like, subscribe and all that jazz. Cheers.